All right, I'm honored to have a great guest. I'm very excited about having with me a man who has an incredible resume, a long list of things, the former governor of Minnesota who's going to talk to us about his brand new show that's been airing. We've promoted it a couple of times on the website. It's called Off the Grid, and with me now is Governor Jesse Ventura. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very well. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm so blessed, and thank you so much for fitting us into your busy schedule, and I want to get right to it because I'm a big fan. I love the show. It's called Off the Grid. Tell us, give our readers and our listeners a little bit of a synopsis on what you're trying to accomplish with Off the Grid.
Well, you know, I've written a number of books, and I was on a book tour, and on my schedule I saw Larry King, and I know Larry had left CNN, and I didn't realize that he was now working for Aura.tv on the internet with an internet show that he left to CNN to do this. And so when Larry interviewed me, he told me this is where you need to be. And so I started, I spoke to the people at Aura, and lo and behold, we moved forward on it. And I told them that I live off the grid half the year, and they said, we don't care where you live, we can do it from anywhere. Their technology is that we can do it. And so we started to base the show on that very concept of me being off the grid. I live hours from pavement and hours from electricity, and as long as we've got our solar batteries flowing good and we can find the satellite, we can bring you the show. And so it's my perspective now from the outside looking in. I'm very concerned with the United States because it's turning into East Berlin.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. And for fans that don't know or haven't followed your career, I can vouch for Jesse spends half of his time in Minnesota, half of his time in Mexico. They broadcast out of Mexico because this way we don't have to have the United States government meddling in what he can and cannot say. And Jesse, you've already gotten off to an amazing start, basically punching the government right in the gut because you've not held back any punches, dealing with some pretty hard-nosed topics already.
Well, to me, it's all part of being a vigilant citizen. Thomas Jefferson told us that the only way our government would survive is that citizens had to be vigilant, you had to pay attention, and you had to hold the proverbial feet to the fire of your government. Well, that's what I try to do, and I feel that's my job as a citizen to do that. And if the government doesn't like it, well, tough on them. The thing that troubles me is that we've lost sight of the fact that we are the boss. The government's supposed to be working for us, and yet it seems our roles are reversed now, that we seem to be doing the government's bidding rather than the other way around. And it's time that we grab the bull by the horns and we get back doing this job we're supposed to be doing, and that is we're the employer, the government's the employee. Imagine for a moment, have you ever heard of the employee putting the employer under surveillance? Never in my life have I heard of that one.
Yeah, and I want to get right to that one. Our motto on our website is keeping the truth in the headlines, and this NSA story is spiraling into something that is I really have been shocked by. And this weekend, there's really been kind of a hit piece that's circulating. It came out of the LA Times, and they're all attacking Snowden. And I know you know this, Governor, that you have seen what Snowden has said and done, and there's nothing there that really has surprised most of us that are connected to what's going on. It's more of confirming, giving more names and details to this massive surveillance, which has gone on since the Bush administration. Yet they're trying to paint this guy as a treasonous, criminal that needs to be hauled off, or worse, John Bolton said hung. It's just shocking that this is how they're going to handle where we are right now.
Well, the thing is, they have to make an example of Snowden because otherwise there'll be more whistleblowers. I had a kid call up my show and said he was in Ecuador or somewhere working for the Peace Corps, and he listed that Snowden violated the oath he took and all this. And I said, throw all that in the garbage. The bottom line is he exposed the United States government for violating the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Those are the most important documents in the United States of America because that's the fabric that holds the country together, and it's our protection. It's the way the people are protected from the government breaking the law. All Snowden did was show the government breaking the law, and so now they want to make an example out of him. Well, Snowden is indeed a hero because he changed his entire life with no regard for himself to show the American people that their Fourth Amendment was being thoroughly violated, and not only that, that the government was lying to them about it. And yet it's the classic, kill the messenger, not the message.
And I want to get your opinion on this entire surveillance system because I've been standing, you can correct me, my entire argument with scrapping the program beyond just the constitutional violations is, didn't the Boston bombing scenario prove that none of this works? We had an entire family of people, including the two bombers or alleged bombers, that are connected to this incident, all tracked, investigated, all these different things, and yet the bombing still occurs. Nothing works within the fabric of how it's being constructed. So why continue down this path?
Well, let me add something. I was out of the country when that happened, but you want how Jesse Ventura views it? It worked because they wanted it to work, and I'll tell you why. That gave them the perfect opportunity to implement and practice a run-through of martial law. That's what you saw that day. You saw the U.S. military on the streets allegedly chasing down fugitives. Since when does the U.S. military, and it goes back to our defense budget from a year or two ago when John McCain and the guy from Michigan, I forget his name, the Democrat from Michigan, co-sponsored that amendment to the defense bill that allows the U.S. military to now operate inside the country. I tried to bring it to the attention of the media to tell the people, couldn't get it on the air. Mainstream media wouldn't talk about it.
And actually, they glorified the incident from the wrong angle, and we'll link to that on our coverage of that as we have photos of them patrolling down the street with a tank, an armed SWAT team basically going house to house. It was an incredible violation of all these people's rights, and God help them for me being safe, because I don't know about you, but I'm not letting them in my house. So I guess I'm either going to get shot or I'm going to get drug away.
Well, I'll tell you what I'll do. If I'm ever up in the States and they say I'm confined to my home, I will immediately walk down the center of the street, because there is nothing in the Constitution and nothing in the Bill of Rights that says the government can imprison you and confine you to your own home. You have the freedom to go out and walk in the middle of the street, and that's exactly what I would do. I would defy them completely if they told me I was confined to my own home.
We're talking with Jesse Ventura about his great show called Off the Grid. It is on Aura.tv. You can look that up at www.aura.tv/Off the Grid. And of course, Jesse Ventura's YouTube page, which is /Jesse Ventura, all one word. And we'll link to those things on our site as well. Governor, when you started out with the show and you dealt with some very dynamic topics and headlines and some different guests that have been on your show and that kind of thing, how do you go about putting your show's agenda together? Do you look at some of the headlines? I mean, we're going to see this ridiculous Obamacare mandate being shifted down the road, and I mean, it just seems like we're under so many topics, so many things. How do you even begin to narrow that down to just the time that you have?
Well, the great thing about this show is it's me. So it's whatever I want to talk about. So it's whatever has me going at the moment. You know, sometimes I might talk sports if that's what's in my head. That's the great thing about this show is nobody from upstairs is telling me the topics I have to talk about. I have complete control and complete freedom to talk about any subject I want to talk about. And that I can't get up in the United States. That I can't get from mainstream media. And I think that this type of media is going to take over because people know they're hearing the truth on this type of media and that it's not having to be channeled through government supervision or that it's not owned by particular corporations with a particular agenda. You know, one of the things that was weird, I was supposed to have a show on MSNBC 5 nights a week, and I wasn't allowed on back in '03 because I was opposed to the Iraq War. If you think back to then, there wasn't one person on television who was speaking out against the Iraq War because the government was controlling who got to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And look at how much has changed. And now we have MSNBC basically promoting the Soviet Union. It's just an experiment and something that we should almost be glorified. It was just shocking to see that Olympic coverage this week and how much things have changed from MSNBC point of view. But you're so right about the corporate control, and it is so refreshing. Jesse's on Tuesdays to Fridays at 3 p.m. You can catch it live on Aura.tv. Jesse, the other thing that you guys are doing, which I think is so awesome, is you're really opening your arms out to interact with some of the fans and some of the viewers and everything. Tell folks how they get to do that.
Well, they can contact us on the website. They can contact us through Aura TV. They go through my main man back at the command station. and they read me the questions and I respond to them. And I like hearing from people because I like to find out where people's heads are at. And if I can answer a question, I'm happy to do so. But then I throw out questions where I need help. And I'll be doing that in the future too, where I'm going to throw out a question and hopefully get a response from someone out there who knows the answer to it because I'm not able to get it through whatever means I'm searching to find it. So, it's this, as I said, is my dream job right now. I couldn't think of one better, and the people I'm working with are fantastic. And it's, all I can say is they better watch out because on this show, it's Jesse Ventura with a 10-minute wrestling interview on any subject he wants to talk about.
It really, truly, folks, is fantastic. And if you haven't really caught full episodes, again, we're going to link to that. Really just no topics been off the books and really diving into some topics that you are not catching on the press. I mean, really, when you talk about the big networks and whatever, it's become kind of a joke. I mean, not like it's really surprising to folks that are going to be interested in listening to your show or reading my website. So let's run to how much you have changed, because your career since 2013 to now, and some amazing books that you wrote. What's been some of the stuff that you really feel like you've grown and really kind of got a good handle on that you're really trying to get people to join you with getting when it comes to the political dynamics of today?
Well, my major quest is to get people to stop supporting these two political parties. I do not support a third party movement today because I believe the only way a third party could survive, they'll have to corrupt themselves like the other two. And you already got a two-headed monster. Why would you need a three-headed one? I'm for the abolishment of political parties. And Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, and George Washington agree with me. So it's the right thing to do. They created our great country, and they know what they had in mind. And so that's the big fight for me today. I can honestly look in the camera and say I love my country, but I hate my government because my government is made up of Democrats and Republicans who have ruined my country. I mean, take a look at the situation we're in today. We're so far in debt. If these people handled their own personal finances the way we've entrusted them to handle the government's finances, they'd be bag people, homeless, living on the street. A young child born today, when they take their first breath of air, they're already $50,000 in debt. And who is responsible? The Democrats and Republicans. How do they run from it? They've been in charge for 150 years. So my war is against them. Them.
Yeah, and your book, Democrats and Republicans, is fantastic. No More Gangs in the Government really starts to dive into this and really deals with, these two parties. The difference is degree on that topic. Has President Obama closed Gitmo? Has he really done much on the wars? He's actually done more wars than even President Bush. And it's really hard, and I don't know. I want to ask your opinion. How do you engage people? What are some of the things that you point people to so they can kind of get their eyes open? How do we pull the scales off some folks' eyes to see where we are, this political landscape?
You have to just keep showing the hypocrisy. Like when they talk about Obamacare, right? Health care. Well, it's interesting. Congressmen get their choice of, I believe, 5 different plans, 3 or 4, 5 different plans they can choose from for their family, and yet they won't even allow us to have one. I find that, things like that. We need to show how they're benefiting at our expense. Just like in one of my books, I showed the fact that congressmen get a better return on the stock market than what's his name, the big rich guy. Help me out.
Bernie Madoff, right?
Not Madoff, the other guy. He's rich right now. He's a billionaire. I forget his name right now. But they get like upwards of 15%, 14% return. Why? They're privy to insider trading from all the committee meetings. They know what stocks are going to rise by the laws that they pass. That's why all these congressmen come out millionaires. It ain't because of their salary. It's because they know how to do things like that, and the game is slanted for them. They can do insider trading. We go to jail if we do it. They can lie to us. If we lie to the government, we go to jail. See, it's hypocrisies like that I try to show the people, and my main focus is to get people to understand we are the boss, not the government. We are the boss. They work for us. Somehow that's gotten reversed, and people better wake up.
Off the Grid with Jesse Ventura. It's on Aura.tv. And Governor, give folks an idea of what they're going to see. We're in a new week this week. You broadcast Tuesday to Friday, so starting up the show tonight. What give us a little sneak peek of what people are going to have this week?
Well, I'll just sneak peek this. I will be holding a debate with myself on who is more powerful, God or the United States government.
Wow. Some of our politicians think they are God, so I'm not sure where the debate is there. Oh, wow, that's fascinating.
Well, if you tune in to me this week, and I'll give you the debate, both sides, and I can honestly be the arbitrator because I've admitted I'm an atheist, so I don't have a dog in the fight. I can judge both sides and give you the winning score if you tune in.
Right. Fascinating. It's funny, too, because I want to know what you say, kind of as a follow-up to what you said a little bit earlier about, a third party, because they'll be corrupted and all that. And you've had a lot of great guests on your show already, Ron Paul and Gary Johnson and all that. What do you tell the libertarians? Because obviously they desire to be that third party, but how do you give them advice? What do you say to them so they can not only, keep their dog in the fight to try to help at least get in there with the two of them, but also, like you said, keep the integrity, keep the lack of corruption, because it is going to be difficult. I mean, Ron Paul is an exception. I mean, he's way the exception to the rule.
Well, and Ron Paul, of course, he wasn't going to get the Republican nomination. When Ron Paul showed up to a Republican thing, he's like the redheaded stepchild that shows up on the day they read the will.
Absolutely.
And, so I knew Ron. I wish Ron would have ran as an independent. I said that. If Ron Paul would run as an independent, I would be happily to join him, at that time. But I think the key for the libertarians is they need to open their doors wider. They have to be more open to other viewpoints to coming. I tried to organize. We had about 6 independents in Minnesota, and I brought them in as governor, and I tried to go off the basis of campaign finance reform. All of us agreed we wouldn't take the bribery money, and all of us agreed that was a foundation, that we were clean that way. Couldn't we build from there? It was like herding cats.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to give up anything to anybody else. We couldn't build from there. I finally threw my arms up and said, I don't know what to do, because these third parties won't band together. Why do they all run separate candidates when if they would band together, go with the difference, the things they agree upon, which the bigger picture is to dethrone these two parties. Right. Let's accomplish that first, and then worry about all the other stuff secondary.
I agree. And, it would be so great to see some of these things come under 110, or at least have a unified effort to try to get to a third alternative. And I always go back to, and I don't know how you would like your opinion on this too, because I go back to one of the most impactful elections in my lifetime was Ross Perot. And it wasn't really because, rah-rah is all about Ross Perot. It was because it took away the I'm against what that guy's against. It allowed for actual conversation of decision-making and actual solutions. So therefore, the American people got engaged and found out actual issues and topics. Now, it didn't really work out great, but we didn't go from there. I mean, that's what's such a shame, right?
Well, what happened was, and I blame Ross Perot and his people, because we affiliated with the Reform Party. And in 1996, we had 3-time Colorado Governor Dick Lamb all set to go as our presidential candidate. And, to show the party was growing beyond Perot, that it wasn't just Ross. Ross did a phenomenal job getting it started, but he needed to let go of the reins and allow it to take seed and allow it to grow. The Texas delegate wouldn't do that, the Perot people. So they undercut Dick Lamb, and Perot became our candidate in 96. And that's when I stepped away and said, wait a minute, this isn't a party about a third party movement. This is all about Ross Perot. And it's a shame that it ended up that way, because it had the foundation there to become real, but unfortunately bad decisions were made at the top and it wasn't allowed to flourish.
And that's going to be one of the hardest things with human nature, greed and money being involved, and always being a play in political adventures. So it's going to be difficult, but I mean, that is where we are. And right now, you see, these big companies are giving money to both parties. It's such a facade when we hear politicians talk about big business or this corrupt bank or this corrupt company or whatever, because they're doing both sides. Everybody's involved.
I've been on the record stating we need to make it mandatory that all congressional, Senate, and presidential candidates be required to wear NASCAR racing suits.
That'd be fantastic.
So that we can see who owns them. They can have their sponsor things, and we'll know who owns the candidate then, and it makes us a much more educated voter then. When you look at Jimmy Johnson, the major thing you see is Lowe's. So you know that Lowe's is Jimmy's main sponsor. Well, we need to incorporate those NASCAR racing suits into our political candidates.
There's only two problems with that. If it's Mitch McConnell, we might not see anything at all, just his eyes, like a little slit, which is probably a good thing. And then with someone like Charlie Rangel, do we have to take away his suit and make him wear stripes since he's committed fraud? And I mean, how does that work? Because I'm okay with it if that's the case.
Well, you know what, they can each wear whatever they deem appropriate, but we as voters need to know who own them. We need to know who's paying their freight so that we know how they're going to vote and who, it just amazes me how they've allowed a system of bribery into our elections, and yet if you do bribery in the private sector, you go to jail. Another hypocrisy. We go to jail if you bribe someone, but our entire system's based upon bribery.
Yeah, and I want to get to one last thing. I know we're kind of getting closer here to the time here.
And I'm laughing down here because I'm looking at some of my cast and crew, and they're of Latino descent, and they're nodding and smiling at me. They think I'm talking about Mexico and Venezuela, and I'm talking about the U.S. when I'm talking about bribery.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to just touch on real quick because I loved your conspiracy theory show. I thought it was fantastic. Got to dive into some really interesting topics. We covered Plum Island and the Denver airport and some of those as well. And I wanted to ask your thoughts on, was there something that you were able to kind of touch on and kind of get into, but really were stopped so early that you really want to get into further? You'd love the opportunity to really dig so much deeper.
9/11.
Yeah, there's so many questions.
That's as simple answer as I can give you, precise and right to the point. 9/11. I have a lot of questions, and no one's willing to come forward with any type of answers. You're not even allowed to talk about it. You're not even allowed to raise the issue and question it. How ridiculous is that?
I tell you what, it's been a great conversation. I want to go through and make sure we run down all of the information so folks will know how to listen live, watch live, off the grid on aura.tv. That's www.aura.tv /off the grid. And of course, you go to YouTube, you / Jesse Ventura, all one word. You'll get his personal page there with the videos. It's Tuesday to Fridays, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 12 p.m. That's Pacific Time. You can catch all this. And, I think I also was reading through some of the research here. There's also a blog. You're also doing a little bit of that too, right? I'm
doing all sorts of stuff. I'm a job creator now,
Well, of course. That's the capitalism running through your blood, Jesse. Come on.
No. I'm down here creating jobs for many of these Latino people, and they've told me that if they didn't have these jobs, you'd be up sneaking across the border taking yours.
Hey, you know what? Wherever it is in the world, capitalism is going to be the best answer. So if we're spreading it in Mexico, it can only be a better thing for all of us.
Well, I'm a hands-on guy. I'm stopping illegal immigration at the same time by providing jobs down here.
So we're going to put that on the part of the early 2016 presidential testing committees there. He's already producing jobs in Mexico. He's preventing illegal immigration. We'll start to put this together now. We'll start running trailers and commercials. People will think you're running in 2014.
There you go. We're off and running. All right. Great talking to you.
Governor, thank you so much for your time. God bless, and just be safe.
All right. Bye-bye, you too.